Welcome to this sort of tutorial where we're going to look at extrusion modeling in Maya, and this time we're going to be looking at creating a kind of roller coaster carriage. So the first step that you should do, obviously, with your planning and research is to start looking at examples of roller coaster carriages. So I've just literally done a quick Google search, and you can kind of see there's a basic kind of anatomy that happens. Whereby a lot of them have a kind of front cart that's themed and a back cart that's themed, and a lot of kind of Disney rides at Disneyland kind of follow that as well. And then the carriages in between usually have a kind of outer frame that follows the theme of the carriage, and they usually carry like 2 to 4 people on each piece, and with wheels kind of attached underneath. So in Maya today, we're just going to look at using some basic modeling tools to develop and produce a carriage. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the modeling shelf, and I'm going to create a cube, and I'm going to create a cylinder. So I'm just going to separate these up. So by pushing W on the key and selecting the object, I can maneuver the key in space. So I'm just going to rotate this over 90 degrees. I'm going to do it on the rotate X, and I'm just going to bring this cube across, bring this across as well, and I'm going to set both of these up because we could use either of these objects to create the carriage with. I'm going to kind of show you the benefits and kind of cons to each. So in order just to set this up, I'm going to I would normally rename objects as soon as I make them, but as we're going to be deleting one of these, I'm not going to. So with this piece here, you have to think firstly about how your project's set up. So radius, height is on 1 and 2, but we want to work in settings and preferences. We want to work to meters in this project. Because you're going to be creating a whole theme park space. You'll be given a space of 100 by 100, but I'm flexible with it. If your ride really should be, if it's a ride that's going straight forward, keep it straightforward, and we kind of can negotiate with elements a little later on. So with the interface, if we go to settings here, and see that it's working in centimeters. I don't want to work by 1 centimeter. I want to work by a meter. Okay, and if I click save, you'll see that now that model is really small, and you can see here it says 0.1, 0.2. So I'm just going to change those back to doesn't like what happened there. 1, and just change the height to 2 again, and we're going to move. Obviously, going to have to move that across, and then with the cube, I'm also going to change it to 1.1. We were going to edit these actually, so we're going to put the height onto, keep the height 1, width at 1, and we'll put depth at 3, and we're going to put the width at 2. I'm just going to move that across, and the same with this. I'm just going to change that to 1.5 on the radius, and I'm just going to change the height, which is essentially the depth, to 3. So we have 2 kind of looking the same, similar size. Because this is looking at the diameter, actually I'm going to take it down to 1, otherwise we might end up with something looking really sharp. As a reference object, you might want to create a kind of an object that is like the person, so your kind of typical person. We can look at kind of the average size of a human. So if we just go to Google and we'll just type in average height in meters for humans. Obviously, I've spelled that wrong. It's got 1.8 in height, and it's got females on there looking pretty short. Was that a child? It doesn't matter. If you just kind of follow the 1.8, and if we look for width, which is so we've got 1.8, and we can find something that's a little bit more specific. 1.6 there. Okay, it's a meter, so probably like 0.6. So let's roll with that. So we'll do 1.8 in height, and then 1.6 on the depth and width. So I've typed that on the inputs, and this kind of gives us our average size of a human. So if we kind of, that's actually pretty big. There's no way we're 1.6 meters across, hastily of mean depth. 0.6 was what I was meant to say, and 0.6, sorry. So I'm going wrong. Yeah, okay, that feels much better. So we can kind of get an idea of how big our, how our human's going to fit into there. So it's quite nice to kind of have that as a reference. So at this point, I'm just going to lift these up. So you can see if I type in 1 on the Y value up here, and I'll do the same here. That will give us just a bit more space. So with these, I'm just going to add in some more geometry. So I'm going to put in 5 of these. So really what we want is a back bar, a mid bar, and a front bar. And we'll do the same on this object here by going to the inputs. You can just stick with the cylinder for this. I'm going to explain why. But I'm just going to show you this anyway. It's the height. It's not showing anything. It's not increasing. Sorry, subdivisions. That's why. So we want the subdivisions to change. So if I change the width, I want 5 again. And you can add some on the height there. Go like 3. We'll go 3 on the height for now, and we can kind of 5 on the width. So, and with this piece here on the inputs, we're actually going to make a rounded cap. Okay, if I push 1 into there, it's going to round it. And if I add some caps on the height, so if we add 4, we're going to get a nice kind of rounded front. So if you've got quite an aggressive and masculine ride, the square model might be more suitable, kind of squared approach. But I'm going to model one using these and have some nice rounded edges. You won't get, it'll be very difficult to create a nice rounded front and back with the cube. Not impossible, but certainly more difficult. I would only use that if you're creating quite a masculine ride, or kind of if you're using an animated show or TV show, it kind of uses that. But we're going to use this for this tutorial. So I'm just going to put 0, which will hide it. I'm just going to hide our man at this point, and I'm just going to put human size ref. I'm going to rename it just so I know what it is in the outline over here. If you can't see the outliner, you can click this video button here, and if you can't see the channel box, you can click the channel box at the side, and it'll pop that out for you. I'm just going to turn the visibility on that off by pushing 0, and I'm just going to reposition our carriage on 0 here, and I'm just going to rename this as carriage model. Just missed an arrow there. Okay, so with our model here, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make the mid pieces here, the actual bit in the middle, a lot smaller. So I'm going to go into edge mode. So if I hold down the right mouse button, it's going to go to component mode, it's going to bring up a face, it's going to bring up edge, vertex, face, object mode, and basically we can select this object different features. So if we go to edge, I can select edges. If I go into vertex, I can select the little points where the edges cross over, and if I go into face mode, I can select individual faces, and each are going to be quite useful at different points. So I'm going to go onto edge mode at this point, and I'm going to double click on this loop. I'm going to hold the shift key, and I'm going to double click again. From there I'm going to push R, which will bring up the scale, and I'm just going to bring that in. Okay, and I'm then going to go and select this loop here and this loop here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to extend those, and I'm going to push them right out, and that's going to create a nice open space for us to kind of play with in here. So there's 2 ways we can kind of approach the next step. We can select the faces by going into face mode. I'm going to push Q to which is select, and it removes that piece the tool away from me so it's not kind of getting in the way. And I can select all of these pieces, and I can do the same at the back here, and I can push Control E, which is Extrude. Extrude can also be found in Mesh Tools under Edit Mesh, under Extrude. Okay, and what I want to do is just go back to this tool, and what I'm going to do is if I move that blue arrow inwards, you'll see it's going to take that in. If I then go to Global Mode and pull that down, okay, it's created a nice kind of bend in there, and then I can kind of put it down if I keep it to that point. So I've got a kind of like a wall happening in here. Okay, and from there I can push Extrude again. It's lagging a little bit at the moment, I'm afraid. And from there I can go push this little icon here. So at the moment if I push down, it's keeping it kind of aligned to the angle that the faces are at, which actually creates a nice kind of rounded space inside. I can turn this and I can go straight down, which is like a global kind of representation of the ride. I think to kind of free us up with some room, what I'm going to do is go do it in local. I think that was quite nice, the way it kind of ventured back out. And if I go into wireframe mode, by pushing this icon here, you can see that I can see through. And if I push that in, I can probably get it to there. Let's have a look, and it starts to come out the sides. If I then change it to global mode without deselecting it, I can then just kind of pull those in. And now you can see that it's not hanging out, but we've retained a lot of that kind of circular shape, which is quite nice. I'm then just going to go back to edge mode. I'm going to select these here. I'm actually just going to kind of pull these across. So I'm pushing R for scale. So the shortcuts that I'm using, are Q, W, E, and R. Q is the select tool, W is the translate tool, E is the rotate tool, and R is the scale tool. Okay. If you get lost, it'll be one of these up here. Ignore these two, which are selection tools. It'll be the Q, W, E, and R. So, with that in mind, we've got the kind of box panel kind of the kind of open space here. And what we also want to do is add in now just some footwell space at the front here, and obviously underneath there. So I'm going to select these faces by pushing Q. I'm going to push Q, and then going to hold down the right mouse button, go to component mode and select face. And then from there, I'm just going to select these. And then I'm going to push Control E. So remember, we're following extrusion modeling for this. And then from there, I'm actually going to rotate this around. So I'm going to push it in a little bit more, so how far I can take it. If we go into here, we can kind of see where we're at. And then if I go to rotate by pushing E, I'm then just going to select this red line, and I'm just going to pull that down so it kind of meets at that point there. If I pull this in, we have a nice amount of foot space kind of appearing there. Okay, so we'll do the same with this one. We'll do it a bit later on as well. So we've got that in. We've got two spaces, and I'm just going to probably add in using Extrude. We're just going to add in some more detail. So around these sections here, I'm just going to push Control E, and I'm just going to scale it in slightly like so. Control E again. I can bring out to create a kind of like a small kind of headrest shape, like so. And I'm just going to do the same on the back. And push Control E. I'm just going to bring that in first. So we're basically extruding twice. The first one is to put in a frame, like so. And then the second one, Control E, is going to bring in another set of faces. We can just take that up very slightly. Okay. So with that in mind, we're going to start thinking about the chairs that we're going to create inside here. And we kind of want to perhaps extrude out from these parts and these lower parts here to kind of create that. So I'm going to select all of these faces except the very thin bars that we've got either side over here. In fact, we can probably take it one step further and we can just add like a really noticeable change there. I'm going to push Control. I'm going to hold Shift as I select these. Sorry, I'm going to actually bring these ones into it as well, and we'll treat them as like a one-person carriage. So I'm actually going to select these two here. I'm going to push Control E, which is Extrude. So again, you're going to kind of keep hearing me say that, and then I'm just going to pull this in, and we'll kind of see how it looks. So I've pulled it in. Bits will move at different kind of heights and different distances because it all kind of tries to move relative to each other. And I kind of, it's probably the closest we're going to get, and we're going to have to kind of edit it in some other ways, I think. So I'm going to hold down the right mouse button, I'm going to go to Edge, and I'm going to select just that very top edge. I'm not going to select the sides going down either, like there. It's that very side piece in there. I'm going to select that, I'm going to push W, and I'm going to bring that back to create a kind of like curved seat space. Okay. Then with these parts here, I'm just going to drag and select those. I'm going to bring those in. I'm going to bring it up slightly, and then with these parts, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to push Q to remove the tool and allow me to select. I'm going to push W, and then I'm going to bring those up as well. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is select these edges here, and I'm actually going to take it back. In fact, actually, let's go to the faces. It's going to be easy with faces. So I'm going to select these faces at the back. So I'm going to actually click the move tool, translate tool, and then I'm just going to push these in. Then what I'm going to do is push Control E. In fact, sorry, I'm going to select these two faces and push Control E, and I'm then going to scale that down. And then I'm going to bring it out with the blue arrow. So to scale down, sorry, I'll do that a bit quick. I'll click on these squares here to go to the scale tool, and then I'll just pull that in. And from there, I'll then select pull that out like so, and it creates this kind of like cushion effect. And I'm just going to do the same at the bottom here. Control E, bring those in with the scale tool, and then I'm going to go to translate and just pull that out, and it creates like a little cushion, so to speak. And I'm going to perhaps just rotate them around slightly. And you know, thinking about the shape of the back, it's got that S shape, so you kind of need the support in this bit, and your bum's going to kind of fall under it, and you know the back, your top back, which hangs further back, is going to rest on here, so it gives it a little bit more room there. And then I'm going to select the faces on here, and in fact, actually, I'm going to actually push these back down a little bit more again. If I go into the wireframe view, it's actually going to be easier to kind of see what we're doing down here. So you can see kind of how much I've pulled that up. So I'm just going to put it back down, and from there I'm going to push Control E. If we go back to shaded, it will be a bit easier to see. I'm going to go into scale mode, pull that middle piece in, and again I'm just going to pull that up. In fact, let's get in just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So, looking nice. Okay, so with the so the thing we've got to start thinking about now is the things that we have in front. So obviously at the moment, if our head was here, we're not going to see much kind of going forward. If you're at the front of a carriage, usually you get more visibility. So we're going to actually push this down. As it's a hypothetical ride, we don't need to worry too much about the logistics of people being to see here. We're obviously trying to follow realism, but at the same time, we're going to be fixing the cameras to kind of this point, and we're going to be looking forward. So kind of what's more important really is what we see here, rather than getting fixated about whether we can see from that point of view or not, because we're not doing product design and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vertex mode, and I've got to be really careful here. Excuse me. In case I select vertices at the back and so on, we've got a little few poking out there we'll have to tidy up later. And I'm just going to go in and kind of select these. Okay, so I'm just going to go into wireframe mode and I'm just going to check that I've got everything selected. So you can see here, these two haven't come in. I want them to. Okay. So go to shaded mode. I'm going to push the R key, which is scale. And with the blue Z-axis, I'm just going to pull these in together, like so. Okay, so I'm retaining some of that curved nature, some of the curvature to it, but I'm also kind of flattening it out. And if I put it down, it's then going to create like a nice kind of front to the car. Okay, so we've now got our footwell in there. We've also got our front down and the back's up, which is fine. And we're just going to actually bring in these two things. So I'm going to push Q, get that there, and get the two on the other side. And I'm just going to pull that in, and I'm just going to pull that there. Okay. So, if we get to object mode, we can now kind of see that's in, and I'm kind of happy with how that front seat looks. I want to work a little bit on the dashboard, which we kind of see here. So I quite like the fact that we've kind of retained that curve underneath. If this was like a sci-fi ride, it's gonna, it kind of adds into it. It looks like a dashboard, doesn't it? Essentially, with that curve. I'm gonna push Control E. So again, I'm going to extrude again. We're just going to pull it in a little bit. As you can see, this time it's quite a complex form. It's not working too well kind of at these points down here. So we can actually pull it up and down to kind of compensate. I'm just going to pull it in just even some more. And this time, when I push Control E, I'm going to take it in and create like a hard edge frame, like so. I'm going to push Control E again, and this time I'm going to scale it in. I'm going to push it backwards a little bit. So I'm not going to extrude again, I'm actually just going to push backwards. I'm going to do it again, Control E. I'm going to scale it down and then push it backwards, like so. And if I scale it in just a little bit like there, I'll push Control E one more time. And then this time I'm just going to bring it right in. And I'm just going to scale that to do so, like that. And then I'm going to push it backwards one last time. Okay, now I've got quite a nice kind of curvature shape, which I might be able to add in some like fake dials and lights and things like that on if I was designing this ride for to be real, which is kind of what the project is about. So with that in, we can then go and fix up this next bit. So remember, we extruded. We had 4 underneath at the top, and then we did the 4 underneath here as well. So at the moment, you can see that we've got a little bit more room and topology there, and we're kind of going to build through that. We won't get as much space, but we'll certainly get a little bit. So I'm going to push Control E, and I'm going to bring that up. I end up pushing a lot of them back, so I'm actually not going to do it that far this time. and you can see here that we've now got this issue where we've extruded up and it's coming on there. So I'm going to pull back. I'm actually going to undo that by pushing Command Z or Control Z on Windows, Command Z on Mac. So depending on what you're working with. And I'll introduce you to another tool. So let's say, essentially what we need is another edge loop around here to give us a bit of breathing space there. So although the Edit Mesh has Extrude, Mesh Tools, if we push this bar, will pop out. We can go to Insert Edge Loop. And Insert Edge Loop, we can add in a piece from around here. It will kind of be like where we had our foot in. So once we build into the back of the seat, hopefully we'll have a bit more room. So we'll see kind of how we go. So I'm going to go back to face mode, and from there we're going to just reselect those, holding shift and clicking on the faces that we want to extrude from, and we're going to push Control E to extrude. And remember, I'm just going to put it out just a little bit. I'm not going to go too mad. So from there, then I'll go to Edge component, and I'm just going to select the tip to those, and from there we're going to pull that in, okay, like so, probably a little bit more actually, and from that point we're going to bring in the center bit as well, not too much but just enough. Right, so the next step is to extrude out again to create the kind of cushions that we did on the previous one. So I'm going to select these two, Control E, go to scale, scale down, I'm going to pull it out, and then I'm going to use the rotate tool, and now it's time to kind of scale that back. I'm going to do the same down here by selecting this cushion, Control E, and this time I'm going to put it out first. It doesn't really matter which order you kind of do these in, it's a little easier to do the pulling out and so on before you do the rotate. And then the rotate, I'm going to select this circle, and I'm going to pull that out like so. I'm going to do the same with these cushions down here on the ground, Control E, scale, scale in, a little bit less this time, and I'm just going to pull that up. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually pull that in a little bit more. We want the back to kind of be on par with the front, so what we're going to do is take these here, and I'm going to extrude out. How much do we extrude from there? Actually did these as well. I'm just going to go into the wireframe view because I can actually see then how much I'll do. So I'm going to go to panels, orthographic, and I'm going to go to side. If I push F, it's going to focus on what's selected. We can't see it selected because we're back right on the side view. If I push W, I can then pull that in. I'm going to put it back there, and I'm going to push E to rotate that. You can see the kind of seats there, so we don't want to kind of overlap that too much because we might show through. But if we push that to there, and then if we go to perspective view again, put shadow on, and we can just about see that coming through, and we don't want that. So if that's picking up there, we'll probably pick it up in the final render. So push that back, and it's near enough pushed us right back to the front, which we don't want. So let's just bring it back again, and we'll be okay. There, so we've gained a little bit, but really not the amount I was kind of hoping for. So what we'll do actually, we'll select the edges at the bottom, and we'll see how much further we can kind of push those through. In fact, actually, I realised what happened. I've just pushed it, I haven't extruded it. So I'm going to undo again. I go now it's straight. Okay. I'm going to push Control E, and now I'm going to go in to the side. So apologies for that. And I'm going to look at the wireframe. I'm going to pull this in. And let's go back to perspective and just see kind of how that looks. See, there's a bit more depth in there now. And that will just allow me a little bit more kind of room and leeway to kind of extrude, pull these bits out actually. So I'm just going to select both of those. Let's push W. I'm going to pull that out. Let's take this with us actually for the first time. And I'm just going to click these again to deselect them and just pull them out a little bit. There we go. So my carriage is kind of taking shape. So on the outside, now we can think about the wheels or the bar, how it might be attached. Because we won't see this on the actual video and ride that we actually when it's running around, we don't actually need to worry about it too much. But it would be nice to kind of get you to have a nice 3D asset that looks finished. So I'm going to imagine that we're running this around a bar that runs through this kind of carriage. And so we're going to try and build this in. So let's just see how far our floor goes down if we left enough room. I might have actually designed this in quite yeah, I think we can get enough in there. I think we can enough to kind of push through. So if we go back to perspective, I'll go in panel perspective first. And I'm going to turn shading on again. I want to have, as I say, that bar kind of running through. I'm going to push Q to go to select mode. So just going to bring that out. So we will check to make sure we haven't selected anything. So just do these one by one. It's a bit monotonous, but it means that we're keeping our object nice and safe. And what I'm going to do is extrude some faces into this, get to scale. I'm just going to bring that down like so. Now we're going to go to edge, and we're just going to select these four, push the R key, scale them in, Q to go to select, hold shift and select for ones on that run, push the R key, bring them in, W to move, try and get them all lined up. They might not be perfect, but as long as they're kind of generally where they need to be, it'll be fine. And then we're going to bring that down, push Q again, push the R key, and get it in. Push the R key. There we go. Bring that down. Just make sure you get kind of as close to it as you can. Push Q, hold shift, push the R key again, and then I'm going to select the edge along the middle. We're not going to double click and select all of it, we just want the bit that kind of falls into this circular area. And what I'm going to do is start to pull that up when I push W, and that line I'm just going to push up like that. Okay. So once we've done that part, I'm going to go underneath, start selecting the other part. Like so, and I'm then just going to pull those in or out. Which way should we go? We can push it in like that. If we just go to the front view, yeah, and what we're going to do is extrude down these parts and create like a circular hood. So I'm going back to perspective. I'm going to hold down the right mouse button. In fact, I'm going to turn off this grid for the time being because it's really distracting. I'm going to hold down the right mouse button, go to face, and I'm just going to select these parts here, like so. And I could extrude these down, and obviously because it's on local mode, we're going to get them pulling in towards each other, which could work, but I'm just going to bring them straight down like this. Probably a little less. Just going to straighten those up so they're flat, like so. And we're then going to Control E, go to scale, bring that in. Just want it kind of coming out really subtly. Just a little bit less than that. So something like there. Okay. Right, so we can imagine now that there's gonna be a bar in there that's running around it, and that's kind of what's driving the carriage once it's attached. Obviously, we won't really see it. And yeah, from the side, kind of looks nice and kind of solid at the bottom. So, on the next part, I imagine this is kind of like a rocket capsule or something similar. So what I'm going to do is start to create like maybe extrude out some of these to make it look a jet. So I'm just wondering, should we do it so we've got like a couple of these coming out. And if we do keep it kind of symmetrical, look nicer if it's got symmetry. And that's the wrong one. What I want, which is this one that I want. Yeah, we'll have that. And just got to go around and select these. So I've managed to catch a face when I've extruded before, which is why it's really important you kind of do check models. I said I was going to do it and I didn't, and that's the outcome. I'll show you how to fix that in a second if you've done that. We've got one too far there. No, we haven't. I think at the bottom we'll keep it blank. So I'm going to push Control. Oh, get that one. Yeah. So I'm going to push Control E, and I'm just going to bring these out like so. And I'm going to push Control E again. I'm going to pull them out again. This time I'm just going to scale that in like so. I'll push Control E again. Bring that out. In fact, actually, what about if we take it in a little bit? I'm going to create like a vent like that. So actually, I'm just going to take that in. So I haven't done that by pushing Control E. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it once more to take that in. I'm just trying to take it in a little bit further. So from there, I just wonder if we could. Yeah. So we've kind of got those in. Right, so what I'm going to do is just clean this square up. So I'm going to hold down the right mouse button. I'm going to go to face. I'm going to select each of these. Push delete. Not backspace. Push delete. Hold down the right mouse button. Go to edge. And then from here I'm going to go to mesh. And go to fill hole. And that face will now be mended. So our next step is to kind of maybe think about the front, maybe we can kind of add in a bar going across either side as well. So from here, so again you can see how I've selected that face from over there. So sometimes when you're double clicking and so on, or if you click and drag as you're moving along, it can cause them to select. So this time we will just double check that we haven't got anything else selected, it's all looking fine. So I'm going to push Control E, and then I'm going to pull that out, not that much, probably just a little bit more solidly than that. Push Control E again, and I'm just going to bring that out a little bit using the Z, so just use the blue one. Then with the scale, I'm just kind of going to bring that in like that. So actually, I want to put it out a little bit more like that. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like we might have. No, it's fine. So, I mean, if there's anything else you kind of want to add in, I'm not sure. You know, you can kind of free to think about your own models and what sort of things you're going to put in. But at this point, you know, we've got the seats, so on. In fact, we might have to make some bars to go inside. You know, so if we just bring, I'm going to add this kind of bit in as well, and I'll just tilt that off like that. In fact, we'll take it down just a tiny bit. Take Control E again, bring that out, then smooth that over like that. So object mode, go in, and I've got a nice kind of carriage ready to go on our ride. And we just want to kind of add in maybe some bars. We could use the pipe tool and cylinder for that, but I think for this and kind of a tutorial to follow with the extrusion modeling, I think for this one we will use a cube. So I'm actually going to bring up the cube I made earlier, and I'm just going to turn on the visibility. So I've selected it in the outliner. If you haven't got the outliner, click this button here, it'll bring it up. I'm just going to call this handrail. Remember, we want to name objects straight away, otherwise our scene's going to get confusing. If I push W, you can see it's really tiny down there. The visibility is still off, so it's not tiny. So I push 1 and enter, there we go. And on this, actually, all I want is I do want it split up 5. I think we'll go 5. I want the height to be like that. I'll try with 5. I'm going to put the height at 0.2. And we're then going to take away the faces, and we can, let's just amend the height, the depth, sorry. So I want it probably at 1. So if I actually line this in the carriage, we can work out roughly the size that we're going to need. So yeah, maybe something like that. If I go to the depth, we kind of want it arched in, so we can resize it at the end. We don't want to re-angle it now. If we angle it at this point, it's going to be problematic because we're going to end up with let's try one. It's not going so enough. We'll end up with really struggling to edit this down using the component view and so on. So I'll just do 1.2. Sometimes it's just a bit trial and error getting the size. Let's do 1.3. Okay, right. So with the edges, I'm going to select, double click on this edge, double click on this edge holding Shift, push R to get the scale tool up. I'm going to bring this across. And I'm going to double click on this one here and do the same and bring that out. Then I'm going to go into face mode, and this time I'm just going to select these faces, push delete, and I'm going to hold down object mode, and this time I want to isolate it. So I kind of want it to be around here, but it's still kind of in the way. So I'm just going to go to show, isolate selected, view selected. Okay, so now everything else is still there, it's not been deleted, it just means that we can only focus on this. So there's another thing that I want to show you, which is the modeling toolkit. So if you select this icon up here, or at the side where it says modeling toolkit, it's going to bring up those tools. So it shows us how we can get into component mode. So I can flip to edge, I can flip to faces, I can flip to vertices, and down here we've got some common tools that are used. So Boolean, smooth, separate, mesh, some of the components, so extrudes on there, which we've used a lot, bridge when we've got bevel, and then some other tools that we can use. The only tool that I really wish was on here but isn't is the insert edge loop tool and the fill hole tool, but we can worry about that another day. So what I'm going to do is double select this edge, double click on this edge, sorry, and you'll see it select the whole thing. We want to remove these two edge pieces from our selections. I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to hold there, and I'm going to go to bridge, and all being well, providing that they're straight and quite linear, they will bridge up quite nicely, and then we fill those gaps in, which is what we want. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to bevel, and we're going to see what we can do with that. So if we actually just select all of our edges here and do bevel, and then we can see that now it's actually built in to that. So I'm going to undo. I'm just going to select the edges here, 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 do the same down this point. And if we click bevel, we've now getting them all rounded. Here's I'm going to go 1, I think. Yeah, we'll go 1. Okay. And we've got a nice kind of round looking thing. So if we go to show on isolate selected, view selected, and we know we've got, I think the belly's here, probably need to put it in a little bit more. So I'm just going to go to vertex, and I'm going to go to the top view, and from that I'm actually just going to select all of these here. There are some issues with this and how it's cut. As we're animating and we're not using this for games, we can get away with it, to be honest, and we will. It's not the best topology flow to be using, but you know, if we don't need it, we don't need to worry about it. So as it's not a game, we don't need to worry about it at this point. So if we go back to perspective, let's bring those out. I'm now just going to angle this at like maybe a 45. So in rotate X, I'm going to type 45. Let's do minus 45, so it's facing upwards. So we can kind of think about how that's going to perhaps rotate. Let's just go panels, side view, and let's just bring this on. So if I think about the body, you can see here, because this it looks like we're in local mode. So if we go to tool settings, which is down here, or if you haven't got it up, if you can push this hammer button, it'll bring it up. It'll bring it up in another window. But if you go down here and change it to world, you'll be able to move it from a global perspective. I kind of want to bring it down there. Now, if I push insert on the Mac keyboard, it's like the up arrow diagonal, and I believe it's next to the FN key, which is like across from the return key in between there and the dial pad. So if I push insert or the up arrow on a Mac, and you can see it brings up the where we rotate and move the object from. So I'm just going to move this down, and I'm just going to really get close up, and I'm going to put it in on this line. So from here I'm going to push insert again to turn it off, and if I push E, okay, when I start to rotate now, it's going to rotate from that point. Okay, so you can kind of think about perhaps which way it's going to go. Obviously, if this was to happen, we're going to smash their faces in, which, you know, you might be a death ride, who knows, but we don't want that. So I'm going to just push W, and we're still on world mode. I'm going to bring it over here, and then pushing E, we're just going to rotate it the other way. And that's kind of like waist height at this point, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to hold down the right mouse button, go to vertex. I'm going to select these pieces down here, and you can see if I start putting it, it's going to take it all off, and if I do this, I'm just going to be guesstimating. So just for convenience and kind of making sure that we're keeping everything fine, I'm just going to go here, turn off the rotate to 0, and I'm just going to go to vertex. Oh no, don't do that. It's this model. Hold down vertex. And I'm just going to actually select, I don't want to reset that position, so I'm just going to pull these up. And I'm just going to go to object mode, and then kind of rotate that around there. And then using the move tool, I'm just going to pull this underneath. I'm going to hide it about there, maybe. We don't want to be outside the model. So I'll just go perspective view, we turn on shading, we have a look under here, you can see we're kind of creeping out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of the ends. So I'm just going to go back into this. I'm going to select these two. And then with the scale tool, I'm just going to bring those in. Okay, and go back to object mode, shading. We then got our bar. Push Control D, and this will duplicate our handrail. Push W, and let's bring that in, like so. So we have our untextured modelled cart using a cylinder. We've looked at the Extrude tool, which can be found on here, or by pushing Control E, or in the modelling toolkit down here. We've looked at Insert Edge Loop, which can be found in the Mesh Tools menu set. Remember to drop them out. You can push the bar at the top. We've also looked at the Bridge tool to bridge gaps together, and also Bevel to kind of add in nice smooth corners as well. And we've also edited one of the faces that we accidentally clicked by going to deleting them by pushing the delete key, not backspace. I'm going to Mesh, I'm going to Fill Hole. And so very quickly we kind of generated this model. So have a go of your own. That smoothing there has happened because we filled it, but don't worry, when we texture it, that won't show up in that kind of way. And you don't need to worry about what it's doing at this point in time. So we've got our cart. I want you to have a go, maybe making your own for your ride. And if there's anything of a specific you kind of want to know how to do, please do ask, and I can show you in session. Alternatively, come find me outside. Okay. Thanks for watching. If there's any issues that I've missed on here, or I've done something and I've not explained it and I've missed that out, can you please contact me and just